What is up guys, this is 101 and welcome back to another edition of Let's Talk WWE 2K14, also known as WWE 14. So on this next episode, we're going to be talking about a possible Attitude Era 2.0 that's recently been rumoured for the upcoming game. Those reports partly being fueled by the fact that JR announced that he was doing some audio work for the game, which has led a lot of people to believe that we're potentially going to be seeing another Attitude Era based WWE game. And if that's the case, I wanted to take a look at a handful of possible storylines that happened during the second half of the Attitude Era that we could possibly see on the upcoming game. I think personally a good starting point and a good storyline to kick off the single player experience if they go Attitude Era mode would be the retirement of the hardcore legend Mick Foley. So you could maybe start off near the end of the Rock and Sock Connection tag team, just before Mick Foley goes into the kind of Cactus Jack persona with a feud with Triple H. So you play through the change between Mankind and Cactus Jack, going through the matches with Triple H. So you'd have the street fight at the Royal Rumble, which was brutal and a great match, that'd be awesome to play through. Then you've got the famous Hell in a Cell match at the No Way Out pay-per-view, again another awesome match to play through. And then finally Foley retiring, at least at that point in time, at Wrestlemania 2000, when it was Foley, Rock, Triple H and the Big Show in a Four Corners match for the then WWF Championship. Maybe after that storyline finishes, you move on to a properly focused McMahon-Helmsley regime era. So that would involve a feud with The Rock, going up to the Backlash 2000 pay-per-view, and then moving on to Judgment Day, where you got the Iron Man match featuring HBK as a special guest referee, which also actually saw the return of The Undertaker, so we could potentially see an American Badass Taker in the next WWE game. But anyway, after that we would then move on to the King of the Ring pay-per-view, which I think was the six-man tag team match where it was Vince, Shane and Triple H versus Kane, Undertaker and The Rock, which I believe was when Rock won the championship back from Triple H. So they could end it there, or they wanted to, they could continue it, finish it at the next pay-per-view, which I think was fully loaded, so they could end it on a last man standing match between Chris Jericho and Triple H, which would then possibly take us to the third storyline, which is going to be the return of Stone Cold. So if we said the last storyline ended around fully loaded time, that's roughly the kind of time that Stone Cold came back into the WWE after, you know, storyline wise, Stone Cold was taken out of the Survivor Series when he got ran down. So this is when he came back, you know, roughly around that time. So the storyline will pick up when Austin is returned looking for the culprits that ran him down at the previous Survivor Series. And then Austin would find out it was Rikishi and Triple H. So you'd have Austin versus Rikishi at the No Mercy pay-per-view. I think that was a no DQ match. Remember, Rikishi was the driver. I'm sure a lot of you fans maybe weren't watching wrestling back then. But Rikishi ran over Stone Cold at the order of Triple H basically. So Rikishi, Stone Cold at No Mercy, and then move on to Triple H, Austin at Survivor Series, and even do Rikishi versus The Rock, because they had that match there as well. That was heavily involved in the storyline also. And then moving that on, it could be Triple H versus Austin in the 3 Stages of Hell match at No Way Out. So that would also be a really good way of introducing the 3 Stages of Hell match, which I know a lot of fans have been asking for a while. And from that point in time, they could shift the storyline to a kind of new storyline, which would focus on The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin leading up to WrestleMania 17. So they would have Stone Cold Steve Austin win the 30-man Royal Rumble, and then The Rock would win the championship, but The Rock actually beat Kurt Angle for the championship, and obviously we got to assume Kurt Angle being in TNA is not going to be part of the game. But I'm sure that could easily be done, you know, working their way around it somehow with some cutscenes and stuff. So moving on then, you would have Rock Austin at the biggest WrestleMania of all time, and arguably the biggest WrestleMania main event of all time, Rock Austin WrestleMania 17 for the WWF Championship. And including in that storyline will be the Austin heel turn at Mania when he aligned himself with Vince McMahon. And then you move on again to the cage match, the Raw the night after, when Triple H and Austin came together and formed the 2-man power trip. And if they wanted to, they could continue that storyline, a 2-man power trip storyline, focusing on Stone Cold and Triple H and their feud with The Undertaker and Kane, which have matches at both Backlash and then Judgment Day. And again, if they wanted to move on even further, they could go on to King of the Ring. And now originally it was a WWF Championship match between Stone Cold, Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit. For obvious reasons, Chris Benoit is not going to be in the game. So again, they could quite easily rewrite history and make that a Jericho-Austin one-on-one match. And then at the end of that match, you would have Booker T interfere, which would kick off maybe the 4th and final storyline, which would be the invasion angle. Now, I'm not actually sure an invasion angle would work because of the superstars, you know, possibly in other companies, so the WWE wouldn't actually want them to be on the game. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but if they could find some ways around it, I think an invasion angle would be really cool to see and absolutely awesome to play through in WWE games. Of course, along the way there can be some other storylines in there as well, like possibly Undertaker and his original return as the American Badass, you know, coming back as the Badass at Judgment Day, and then following Taker on and off through the next year or two, working his way up to Ric Flair at Wrestlemania 18, which was kind of pretty much the end of the Attitude Era. So other short storylines could easily be fitted in there as well. But guys, to be honest, this video has gone on a little bit longer than I originally thought it would, so I think we're going to leave it after this one. But those are just a handful, was it 4 or 5 potential storylines that we could see in WWE 2K14 if WWE Games decide to go the route of Attitude Era 2.0. And for the most part, I've got to say, I think those possible storylines mentioned and some other potential storylines as well would be pretty cool to play through. And more importantly, with the storylines that I've mentioned, for the most part, those storylines would actually work because a lot of the names in those storylines are actually already contracted to the WWE, or at least already contracted to WWE Games. But anyway guys, let me know what you think of my ideas for a potential Attitude Era 2.0 in the upcoming WWE 2K14. Let me know your thoughts on that in general. Do you guys want to see this mode again? Do you guys want to even see another Attitude Era based game? And if you do, what storylines that I haven't mentioned do you potentially want to see on the upcoming game? But that is about it from me today. So if you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, then please support the video and my content by leaving the video a big thumbs up. And please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet already. Expect more WWE 2K14 goodness coming very soon. You can also find a link to my brand new custom made unofficial trailer for the upcoming game on the top left hand screen right about now. So if you haven't seen that before, then please go and take a look at that and leave some feedback. But that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Expect more very soon. Until next time, this has been 101. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you all on the next one.